Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Motivational Monday where each one teach one. I hope everyone is doing fine today. Um, it's the end of September. Time has been flying so quickly. All right. Tonight we have a panel for you, so we're going to bring them on in a little bit. And let us start off now with a little prayer. Father, I come to you with a humble heart, ready to be used for your glory. You have called us to serve and spread your love. Equip us with your wisdom, strength, and courage to fulfill the task you set before us. Let our life be a testament to your grace, a beacon of hope to those in darkness, and the source of comfort to those in need. Show us opportunities where we can make it different, the places where our skills and talents can meet the needs of others. Give us boldness to step into your faith. Open doors and that no one can shut. Close doors that are not in alignment with our will. Teach us to act with integrity and love. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Philia, are you ready? Okay, Philia.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Ah,
How are you,
Philia is
sis?
here. Hi, Philly.
How are you, beautiful?
Good, good, good. So you have word of the week?
Yes, I have word of the week is obliterate. obliterate. And to obliterate is something to destroy. It means to destroy something completely so that nothing is left to destroy utterly all trace, indication, or significance of it. It can also mean to remove from recognition or memory. Obliterate.
Wow. Well, we learn something new every day.
Every single day. So when bad things happen, we want to obliterate it from our memory, but it's also good because it reminds us of the things not to do anymore. Obliterate.
Right. So we
All
want to
right.
say happy belated birthday to Anthony Joseph. He's an avid watcher of Motivational Monday. I also want to
Yes.
say condolences going out to the Joseph family. And
Mhm.
Anthony, Uncle Frankie passed away a couple days ago. So I want to say, you know, condolence going out again to the Joseph family in South
Yes.
Florida. I'll be there Friday, God's willing, for the funeral. Stay
Our condolences,
surrounded with
Anthony.
loved ones, right?
Yes. Yes.
And all those that celebrating a birthday today, we want to say happy, happy birthday to you guys, right?
Yes. Happy birthday. We are now officially in Libra season. Shout
Libra,
out,
yeah,
shout out
yeah,
to the
yeah.
Libras. Shout out to the Libras.
I know.
Yes.
So I just have a quick health tip for you guys.
Okay.
We want to talk a little about alternate to sugar includes natural sweeteners like honey, maple syrup, and monk fruit extract, which can be less processed than sugar and offer some vitamins and artificial and sugar alcohol sweeteners, and which are often chloral free and low chloride option. The best choice depends on your personal health goals, such as weight management or blood sugar control, and where you prefer natural or artificial option. Honey contains a trace of minerals, but its calories are dense. Maple syrup is a natural sweetener with a compound that slow blood sugar absorption. We have stevia, we have monk fruit extract, we have dates, we have coconut sugar, which I've never heard of, and we have avocado nectar. So instead of using sugar, guys, these are alternates that you can use. All right, Philly. So, Bible verse of the week.
Okay. And I wanted to mention that I use some of those things. This one is agave, And
Yes.
agave is a natural, and it's raw, and it's organic as well. So
Nice.
so I do that. It's basically like liquid sugar. I think that it makes you use a less amount of sugar to sweeten things. So it is an option. So our Bible verse of the day is taken from First Timothy 2, verse 5 to 6. And it says, "For there is one God and one mediator who can reconcile God and humanity, the man Christ Jesus. He gave his life to purchase freedom for everyone. This is the message God gave to the world at just the right time." Amen.
Amen. Amen and amen. And we want to just
Um,
say good night to everyone that is locked in. We have
mhm.
Melvin in the background, South Florida in the house. We want to say thank you so much for looking and locking us every week after week, you guys there. Whether you're a
Yes.
silent watcher or what, you guys keep us going. All right. So who
Yes.
are we representing today?
I think who we're representing today are realtors,
Okay.
people who are into realtor, property management, anybody who is a real estate broker. I think that these people sometimes get overlooked because what happens where in this market, when people are going through selling or buying homes, these people are putting in their homework. They're doing their research. They're helping people in finding places with areas that have great schools that are accessible to trains and public transportation. And also for people who are selling their homes, like myself, who I'm still going through a struggle of selling my home, where I'm not putting any money into the house because that relationship has been done. I don't want to
Right.
invest anymore. I just want to get rid of it so my name comes off of it. And they're just working hard to get rid of the property, and yet still you still go away with something. So I definitely want to shout out the realtors, people in real estate, people into property management, where you have a property and maybe you're not in the town or the country where your property is, and there are people who are really trying to honor your wishes based on whatever that property is. And I don't necessarily think they get paid a lot to do what they do, so I think they're
Right.
underrated and they're undervalued. So shout out to them.
Oh, so thank you so much. So, yes, they do a very fantastic job and they do a lot of research.
Yes,
So, I'm going
absolutely.
to bring my panel on now. We have June, we have Nigel, and we have Kwan. Let's join everyone.
All right. Welcome, welcome,
Welcome,
welcome.
Nigel. Good night. Good night. Welcome, Kwan. And
Hello,
welcome,
hello.
June.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good night. Good night.
night.
So, our topic tonight would
Mm-hmm.
be what would it take for men and women to be honest and upfront to communicate truthfully in a relationship? And happily single person, happily married person, unhappy married person, happy single, and unhappy single. So we could have a discussion. We're not here to bash anyone. It's
Right.
just open adult conversation that real things happen each day. So whoever ready could take the floor. Nigel, Kwan, all right. So I will start then. So when we talk about being honest and upfront in communication truthfully, I think not everyone likes to hear the truth. I think a lot of plasters and bandage and everything else people put than telling you, hey, this is the deal, this is the deal. How do you feel about that, guys?
I feel the same way. I feel like there dealing in relationships, whether you're married or single, is very. You have to sometimes you have to be. I guess you got to say it as the words of putting the kids' gloves on, because
Right,
you never know what's happening with your significant other, girlfriend, wife, husband, whatever, because you never know of trauma they've been through, that something might trigger them, that you telling the truth, or just telling the truth some people don't understand. Like for me, for instance, I'm and Philly could contest to this. I'm a big truthful person, and truth has not helped me at all in my life, whether it has been in relationships, work, anything. So with being with troops, it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really work like that a lot. So it's all dependent on, and I always tell even like my kids are older, and I tell them, even with being in, if they have a girlfriend or whatever, I tell them like, listen, man, I know it's hard because if you tell, it's like you're damn if you do, you're damn if you don't. If you tell the
Right.
truth, it's like, oh, why you did that? But if you tell a lie, it's like, oh, I told you the last person told me a lie. Why are you gonna tell me a lie too? So I'm the type of person to say, listen, man, I'd rather you tell the truth and them just be mad. And yeah, it is what it is, man. Like,
So how have that helped you during the years, especially with delivery? Because I know communication, men speak differently to women. So
hmm
I'm say, you know what? I'm hungry. I'm telling you, I'm hungry. You
hmm
hungry? You know? Yes, I'm hungry. That means I want to eat. You might think,
hmm
well, okay, you're hungry, go get something to eat. But I
hmm
we want you guys to ask us. So we say things different,
hmm
especially if we together for a long time.
hmm
How has that developed with you? And you and Philia then with communication throughout your time together from then to
well,
now.
what's so funny with food, I don't never believe her. So if she said that I'm not hungry, I don't believe it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I know her like the back of my hand because 9 times out of 10, if I get food, she gonna start dipping in my food, and I don't like that at all. I like my own food. Get your own food. I don't understand that, um, but it works. She been through a lot where she been lied through her whole life. From men in her life. So, me being truthful, as like I told her, being truthful as much as it hurts. I'm
Right.
like, listen, man, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You know, it's not like I'm telling this to hurt you, but I don't want it to be no secrets and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't got time for that. And I'm a Virgo, so it's just my DNA. I can't. I'm just gonna tell you what it is, and I can't. It's just what it is. Like I'm gonna tell you how I feel. I'm gonna tell you what's going on. Any situation, anything. Like I've told, and funny enough, I've told Philia things that she felt like I shouldn't have told her. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like she used to, like in the beginning, I told her certain things about past or women that's actually still around us.
Right.
And she was like, oh, why you told me this? Because, now it's gonna make me feel weird and this and this and that. And I'm like, listen, I'm not saying anything's going to happen because I'm just not that type of person, but I'm going to, that's just who I am. I'm not the type of person to hold anything. I hold secrets, but I'm not going to be, if I'm in a relationship, I'm just going to just be real about it.
That's nice. I like that. Anybody else?
Well, I'm going to
I can touch on it too.
okay, please touch on
Okay,
it
go
then.
ahead. June.
So I think it's like twofold, right? So depending on what you're communicating and your honesty, um, is gonna be the difference. If it's something that's probably like constructive criticism, I think feelings get hurt, and then maybe it's like, oh, it's how you said it. Now it turns into a different conversation, right? If it's something that's just like general truth, then maybe it's received better. But I feel like a lot of times when it's something that is constructive, hey, you could have done this way or you could have done it that way. I feel like oftentimes it's taken in the wrong way.
Right.
It's taken more like, oh, you're judging me, or oh, you're against me, or depending on how they feel in that moment.
Right.
It depends, how they receive it. Sometimes they feel like, oh, it's a kid being scolded, like you tell your kid, hey, don't do that again or else, or
Right.
they get offended by it, and then you can't have that conversation anymore, because it's a sensitive topic, especially when you want to be honest with something that is beneficial or
Right.
something that is the area of opportunity or improvement. Not everybody receives it well. They feel like, oh, you're judging me or you're against me. So
Right.
it depends.
So, I know you have been around for a long time with communication with your husband, communication with people on a whole. Do you have any advice for us that we could probably, use that work?
I think if it's something that is very important, especially when it comes to criticism, I think the environment has to be right. I think it can't be tagged along with an argument.
Mhm.
It has to be a conversation that, you guys are both in a good mood and you're like, hey, this is what I observed, and provide that feedback. I think when you're on edge or you might have just come out of a argument or something like that, it's very difficult to receive constructive criticism.
Right.
And it's also your delivery may not be exactly the right delivery in that moment. So I think setting the tone in that audience and that environment before you communicate something that's very important is important.
Right. All right. Good. Anybody else?
I agree with June. Thank you for sharing that, June, because I think, and what June inadvertently is saying, creating a safe space. If every time your partner tells the truth, you get into an argument or fight, you're not creating a safe space for that person to feel like they can speak to you and be completely honest, right? And be truthful, because it's like it will make you apprehensive to tell the truth. Because if every time I tell you something you react or overreact or get hysterical, then I rather my peace and just not say something, right? It also can
Right.
just, or they're just people like Quan, it doesn't matter if you react or overreact. That's just me. I'm just going to tell you what it is, right?
Plain
So
talk, bad
I think,
manners.
say it again.
Plain talk, bad manners.
Yes, no matter what, he's going to say it. And I think, when we first met, I did tell him that, men lying to me consistently have always been a thing. So I really would appreciate someone who would just be honest. And yes, the truth, like June mentioned, the truth does hurt. However, you have to think about the person who you're speaking with. If that person is in your best interest, that person is in your corner, that person only wants the best for you, regardless if it hurts or not, they're not doing it to hurt you, they're doing it because they love you. Because when
Right.
they don't care, then you're not getting that, right? So I
Right.
think my first taste of Quan was when we first got together. And I this was actually we had actually just were intimate with each other. And while I was putting on my clothes, I asked him, "Who else are you having sex with?" And he stopped and he looked at me and he was like, "Where did that come from?" I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Two other people." And I
Mm.
looked at him.
Mm.
I was like, "Okay." And I put on my clothes and I was like, "Okay." And then he was like, "You good?" I was like, "I don't know yet."
Right.
And he was a little nervous about it because he didn't know what that meant. For me, it was like, okay, this is the first time someone was just honest.
Right.
This is what I asked for. What am I going to do with the information? But
Right.
what I appreciated about it, although I didn't like it, I appreciate the fact that
He
let
was
me
truthful.
now know what I want to do with that information. I either
Right.
want to continue working with it, or I'm going to deal with it, or I'm going to have two other people too. I mean, it could go either way, right?
Right.
But he also mentioned to me he had made a decision that he was going to not mess with them and just mess with me. But so whether I asked him or not, he had already made that decision. And I believe up until this day, that decision he had continued to keep with, because he said on his own he was going to give me a complete, he was going to give our relationship a fair shot, meaning not
Right.
mess with someone else and completely
Right.
delve into me regardless of what my situation was. So that was the first taste of Quan in a nutshell, and no pun intended.
Right.
So it was like, okay, I see what I'm dealing with here, right? But as I said, I always remember that as being something for me to say, okay, I see the kind of guy that I have. And whether the truth hurts or not, I'm going to get it raw in any form or fashion. But at least I know what to do with that information. Is either, and that's the thing about lying. It's like you give that person an opportunity to know and know what they
Right.
want to do with whatever that opportunity is. So it was appreciative, and then clearly we've worked on that, and we're married today. So
So I think that is great too, because I think lying tends to put you and others in harm's way. And when I say that, is that I rather you tell me the truth and we deal with it than you lie to me or I find out, you know. But I am like Kwan. I am a straight talk shooter. You know, it is what it is. And okay, I know it's for me to know if I want to accept or not accept.
Right.
Right. But I
Very
find
fair.
now in relationship, they, you know, communication has to be 100, and some people don't know how to communicate. Some people shout at you, some people think that you're the kid, some people think that, you know, they just don't know how to deal with people. So I find it, you know, very funny sometimes in relationship. I'm talking about whole. I mean, like work, you know, your personal, your family relationship on a whole have barriers, and I think boundaries is something important we all need to learn because lack of communication, and sometimes I think too is how you grow, because growing up when you have your parents, I could talk for mine. You know, I have a mother and father for the last 42 years married together. So you will look and see my father, I never really see him shout at my mother. I always know him being stern and different things. So I know I don't like nobody to shout at me. I don't like nobody, you know, it's very certain things that just irk me. And that's a turn off. So I don't know if anybody feel that way. Nigel?
Good night again. Um, Let me take it one step at a time, right? First of all, the
Right.
gentleman that spoke first, um, I applaud him for his attempt at honesty. His
Right.
no nonsense approach to honesty and the consequences that it may or may not bring, right? I appreciate the views of the lady that spoke after, speaking about temper in your conversations based on your audience and the timing of the conversation. However, my view is this, right? Communication is a goal that has a goal, sorry, that allows you to express your feelings, your ideas, your opinions on different topics with whoever it is you're speaking with, right? It
Right.
depends on it's specific to giving of yourself, your views to the other person, to the other parties, right? Some people, however, when they now communication is a two-way street, right? I speak, you listen, you speak, I listen. Some people in a conversation, whether when you're trying to communicate an idea, they listen to respond rather than to receive the message. And that is where the problem lies, as far as I'm concerned. Because if I'm telling you a truth and your response is a defense, then we begin an argument.
Mm-hmm.
If you're all following me, right? Because when I say the pot is black, and you try to tell me why the pot black and all I'm trying to tell is that the pot is black. Whether we need
Right.
to do something about it or not is left to be determined still, right? The cause of the pot being black is not the issue. The pot is black. That is what I'm telling you, right? How you treat with that information now is going to determine the next response that you get from me. Because if you put up a defense, then I'm going to have to convince you of why I see it as being black. And that in itself is an argument rather, and be straying from the point, which is I'm giving you a truth, right? For you to deal with it the way it should be dealt with. Accept that it is black, right? And we move on. If there is need for correction, you internalize that okay, it's black when it's supposed to be silver. what do we do from here? Do we scrub the pot? Do we put it to soak like West Indians do? Do we, look for a new pot? And communication in itself, the act of communication breaks down when we start to argue, because the point is lost, right?
Right.
Now, for men and women being truthful in relationships, right? Well, in situations where relationships are involved, right? Personal relationships such as husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, that kind of thing. Society has it that first impression counts, right? So we tend to put our best foot forward, try not to make no mistakes, because we want to impress upon the other party that this is who I am, this is what I can deliver, right? Some of it will be true, because you can't hide your total your whole self. But like my boy said, I'm sleeping with two other women, right?
Right.
I may or may not come out with that kind of information early enough. However, okay, look in my case. I would have said to a few women, well, I am married.
Right.
What you take from that information is up to you. I am happily married and I good with that. We could be friends, I don't need to explain to you what marriage means
Right.
when I tell you that, right? I'm not expecting a response, but what you do it, no, I'm married. That's the full stop. We're not going
Right.
further than that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not expecting you to form a compromise for me so that I could fit into your circle. No, it's not that.
Right. You
When once
married.
the line is being crossed, I let you know I'm married, right?
Right.
And that truth, for me, needs no explanation, right? Needs no further development.
Right.
However, if I told you I am single when I'm married, and then you find out that I'm married, right?
Yeah.
Then nothing else that I have said to you, you would take as being the truth,
Right.
right? And further to that, what can I tell you after that? So you have already found me in a big lie. And how am I going to explain that lie to you? With more lies, not so.
Right.
Because telling you the truth would either shut the door or leave me on the outside, or open up a different kind of worms, because there are now other people to consider. So basically, a lot of people hide the truth because they want people to feel a particular way when they converse with them, right? You could feel
Right.
comfortable to talk to me because I'm not going to say things to hurt your feelings or put you off or that kind of thing. I'm not going to say things that are going to criticize what you do, how you do it, who you are, the type of person you are, because I'm not giving you that truth,
Right.
right? And when I do that, right, no one can see me, as far as I'm concerned, no one can see me as being a truthful and honest person, because I'm starting off with a lie that would
Right.
only encourage me to compound that lie.
Mm.
As time goes on, I would have to make other little lies, other small lies, other half truths
Right.
to make what I started off with look like if it is real, when it is not. Motivation for It is easy to lie. That's what I want to say. It's real easy to lie. The
Hmm.
hard part is telling the truth and sticking to the truth, right? So that when it's this easy to get to achieve a goal, because some people lie to achieve goals, whether it is to be with somebody or to avoid somebody or whatever, they lie for those reasons. And in doing that, it shows a flaw in your character,
Hmm.
and it leaves others thinking that especially if they find out the truth, that you're incomplete because you're not mature enough to come forward and say, this is where I am, this is what I stand for.
Hmm.
Mm?
I like that. I like how you say you're incomplete. So how can we go about um conversation wise speaking the truth? Like how Kwan and well, Kwan like me as I say in many ways, and Philia now on the other hand, she didn't receive it at first, but it marinated and then, she made her choice. I
Now, I
think
agree with Philia to a point in that you have to temper your audience, weigh the pros and cons of how you deliver your truth to your audience, and take the measured approach that they would receive it in the best light, right? But the point is that the truth has to be delivered, right? So whether if the person that you are trying to deliver that truth to is not, how to put it, calming down in your view enough for you to deliver that truth, and for them to take it calmly, is it that you are not going to give them that truth for fear of the consequence, how they would react? Because
anybody
a lot of
go?
truths are lost like that. We waiting for the right opportunity to tell people those truths, and it doesn't come,
It's true.
right?
Well, well, I yeah, Nigel, I really like a lot of things that you were saying. So with me, like I said, I'm the type of person I just like to rip the band-aid off. If it's gonna bleed, it's gonna bleed. At the end of the day, um, like Phil was saying that you just got to know who the person you're dealing with. Know that it's not. I'm not telling you this for you to run away. Um, when I told the truth, right, it wasn't something that Philia had her situation, but I didn't look at it as Philia's in her situation, and because she's in her situation, I'm going to tell this truth, or I'm going to still do what I had to do. Because even after I stopped messing with these girls, Philia was still in her situation. Because um I've built, like I said, I've dealt with things like that. You know what I'm saying? I've dealt with liars and people who wasn't honest and certain things that, I know the situation she was dealing with. I know what it is to, like, you might not be with your child's mother no more, or child's father no more, excuse me. And the father might still be around, or the mother might still be around, still lurking around, still trying to do that. So with her telling me, yo, this is the situation I got. The man is still in the house, whatever. That was like you said with me, that was my choice to say, all right, I'm still, because she told me this in the beginning. She was like, until the situation happened, she was truthful to me. She's like, listen, this is the situation I'm going. My child's father's still here, blah, blah, blah. Yo, I'm just letting you know. Maybe you should talk to other women until, you know, the situation dies down. And like I said, even though I was telling the truth, I was just like, you know what? Even though I was telling the truth and I know the circumstances with that, and even though I felt like it was still against me, I still was like, you know what? It's still not gonna stop me from telling my truth. It's still not gonna stop me from just being honest. And it's not gonna stop me from trying to get to know this woman in the best way that I can.
Right.
So, but yeah, I like I said, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm always worried about telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? I always worried about telling the truth. Even though I'm I'm gonna be bold and tell the truth, I'm still worried about it because like you said, Nigel, like a lot of people cannot handle the truth. You can't just come up and say, "Oh, such and such or such and such." Even though I told her, "Yo, listen, I'm still with, I still met two women," and it was also like I said in the beginning with the whole trauma thing. It's like what I went through right before I met Philia. I went through a, a bad situation, a situation, a grimy situation. So that is still affecting me to this day. But I always told myself that I'm not going to bring, that point on thing, you know what I'm saying? So even though I had these issues with these other women telling them the truth, I'm not gonna bring Philia into this to be like, you know what, I'm gonna be honest with her and we just gonna see how it is.
Anybody else? June?
Not really. He makes a lot of good points, both of them, you know. Um I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be honest regardless of how you feel about it, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna lie because I can't lie. If I tell you a lie today, I forget tomorrow. So I'm better off telling you the truth. And I'm gonna tell you the truth, you know what I mean? So you may not receive it how you want to receive it, but I'm gonna be honest in that communication, but I'm gonna tread carefully with how I deliver the message.
Yeah. I think that is important. Celia?
Yeah, I was gonna agree with you. And yeah, I'm very meticulous in the way I deliver the message, but it's always gonna be honest. Because I do care about people's feelings. I do care about that. However, I also can't lie. And I always feel like if you have to lie, then you shouldn't be doing it. That's my motto, right? I don't,
Right.
no matter what the situation is. So one thing Quan and I have come to compromise is that he also feels that if because he's honest, then he should just tell me everything. And I'm
Right.
like, that's not necessarily honesty. Honesty is when I ask you something, you
Right.
tell me, which is I asked you who else are you messing with, you told me. I don't
Right.
want you now telling me who else you were messing. I didn't ask you all that, right? That's one.
Right.
But with
Right.
him, he's like, yo, I'm honest. I was like, yeah, that's why we got into a situation where he told me about another person who's in our group and we're close to, and he told me he had sex with that person. I'm like, you didn't have to tell me that. He's like,
Right.
oh, make up your mind. You either want honesty or not. I'm like, I didn't
But
ask
that's
you
not
that.
just honesty,
Now
that is
you put me.
openness.
Say it again, Nigel.
I said that's not just honesty, that is being open.
So
Right.
right. So I was trying to tell him the difference between the two. I said, you telling me that information now makes me feel weird around the person because I didn't one need to know the information. Two, you're not in a predicament to let that happen again. That person has moved on, you've moved on, everybody's friends. Now I'm feeling some type of way. So he
Right.
was like, well then you told me to be honest with you. I was like, yes, but you were honest with me when I asked you about a particular posing issue that I had, and I dealt with that situation. Now you're just telling me everything that you've done in the sun. I'm like, I don't know if I need to know that information because now you've created a situation that wasn't existing before. So we were battling a little bit between that, and he thought I was being wishy-washy, and I was just trying to let him understand the difference between, like Nigel said, honesty and just being open. It's like they're two different things. I'm honest, but maybe something didn't come up for me to talk about it. But when it comes up, I tell you, oh, how come you didn't tell me this 3 years ago? It never came up. I don't think it's necessary. If it comes
Good.
up, then fine. I'm gonna be honest about it. But I'm not gonna know every single detail to tell you in a matter of a year that we've met. I just don't necessarily operate that way. But I will never ever lie to you. So we've come to that. We've figured out the delicate balance that works for me, that works for him, and it's kind of funny though.
Okay, so Jason is
Right.
saying, as June stated, if you lie, you always have to remember your lie. Delia is saying, oh Lord, I will tell the truth, but my delivery don't be good at times. And she's saying again, there's a difference in honesty and transparent. So she's saying there's a difference. I guess he's trying to be very transparent, Philia.
Correct.
It,
And
it
I get
was
it. I get it now. I do
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it
absolutely.
was it was and it was hard for me to it was hard to me, like she said, it was hard for me to separate that because I just been on, and then it didn't make it no better that I get that trait from my mother, because my mother was just the same way I am, is the
Yeah.
same way my mother was. It
Right.
was
That's
just like honesty. I didn't know how to separate, like Nigel said, honesty and open and transparency. I didn't know that. I was just like, yo, listen, I don't know what's gonna happen. No one knows people's mental state. So I'm just saying, let me just use an example. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, I slept with this person, right? Or
right.
I slept with this person, and the person, like I said, the person is around, and for some reason, this person is mad at the person that she with. I mean, the person that she's with, actually, and for some reason, she just blabs something out, and I never told you this.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, you be like, "Oh, why you didn't tell me you
Right.
such and such happened with?" I'm be like, "Yo,
Yeah.
you told me not to be open, right? So I'm not gonna be open. I'm gonna shut my mouth and be quiet." So it's kind of difficult for me to know that, because I'm like, I don't look at open and honesty, because I also been honesty. I always been
Right.
honest, and I've had situations where I wasn't open. If y'all want to use the word, I guess
Right.
that's the word of the day. Open, right? And I was open. And Nigel, you should have never used that word, yo. Open, right? I was open, right? And a situation like this happened, and it was like the girl got mad at me. Oh, why you didn't tell me this, and why you didn't tell me that? Yo, you said, like I was honest about this, but you was like, oh, but you wasn't. She said, she didn't say the word open, but she used it in that terms, and I'm like, that goes back to what I said in the beginning with the damn if you do, damn if you don't. Do you want me to be honest? You to
Yes.
be open. I don't know people's mindset. Like I don't. Like I don't.
Transparency. Transparency.
And
Listen,
then to
man.
and then to add and then to add insult to injury, every time he was around that person, I'm like, oh, did you do it with her? He's like, oh my God, you see, this is what I get. I should never have said anything. And I was like, I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I just want to be sure that you good. And he was like, you see, this is the problem. So we went through that in year one, but we good now. Since
You
you want
see
to
how
be
you speak.
open,
You start you
let me
speaking for
know
me.
what's
We
going
good.
on.
You good. No, you good.
Another thing about honesty, right? And in communication, it has some roots in your cultural upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
Mm-hmm.
if you have not been raised in a culture of honesty,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult for you to appreciate honesty,
Right.
right? You wouldn't recognize honesty as something genuine, right? It will always be an attack on you,
Mm.
right? So if you are accustomed, you are raised in a culture of honesty around you, you bathe and you come out and you're still smelling frowsy, and somebody tell you about it. It's not that they're insulting you, they're trying to educate you on what you should on your processes and how thorough you should be when you're doing it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not that they want you to go out smelling stink, they're letting you know, hey, you ain't finished what you was doing. Go and do it
Right.
properly. Right?
I agree. I agree and disagree with that sometime, though, because I only reason I say that is on both ends, is because You have people who, guys in particular, that say if a woman is in an abusive relationship and a man hit them, right? They most of the time they'll say, "Oh, I see my father hit my mother, or I see my father used to do that." And then this is why they use that to say, "Oh, this is the reason why I do that." But then you have, like, I could share this, we family and all that. My mother has been beaten on, that's what I'm saying. And you know, I've seen it before,
Right.
but I've never, I'm saying, I've never hit a woman in my life. You understand what I'm saying? So I feel like, Nigel, I hear what you're saying. That's why I said, it's different things, because on one hand, it happens in your household, but then on the other hand, it's like, you set the bar for being different. Like, you might have a family member, Nigel, that might not be happily married, or might have been married, not, married, and you going out doing them. And you might have been like, what, that might not be me. I'm not going to follow the footsteps of my uncle, or my father, or whatever. So,
I understand what you're saying, but my point was that
mm-hmm,
the cultural part of it is that you some habits are nature and some are nurture, right?
Mm.
right, right,
So nature would tell you
mm-hmm,
as who you are.
right,
Nurture is habits that you learn, and if you learn from being nurtured by your parents and your siblings and your other family members around, that this is what the truth is. This is what it
mm-hmm,
does. This is how to deliver the truth, regardless of the circumstances around it. You must find a way to deliver the truth, right? The penalties for when I was growing up, the penalty for lying
Mm.
was far greater than what you could have suffered through for telling the truth.
Right.
Like, let's say I did something wrong at home and I hide in it. My parents discovered that something was done and they suspect it's me. And I keep lying and say it's not me, it's not me.
mm-hmm,
And when they do the investigation and find out that it is me that was culpable for that, the amount of licks I go in and get.
Right.
mm-hmm,
Understand? As opposed to if I
mm-hmm,
had come clean in the beginning,
mm-hmm,
say, yes, I did that. And yes, I would be scolded, but they would always say, I appreciate that you come out and tell us the truth one time so that we don't have to go through this long set of talk to find out who it is and why it is and that kind of thing. And for me, that was the edge I had over a lot of over most of my siblings, because I would come quick and say, yes, it's me. Understand? And they would hide and run, and I would laugh at them when they get licks. I don't want to be that one.
Right.
that
Yeah.
is so true.
Yeah. I think it really is what is learned behaviors, I would say, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm,
but my father too, same thing with you, Nigel. He will tell us the truth, you know what I mean? And we grew up speaking the truth. But some people just naturally tell tales for no reason, maybe for attention, I don't know. And now with social media, it's even worse because people portray this goodness. They dress up nice, they put on the face, but when you go in the house, it 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 in disarray. Clothes on the floor, pile up piles, they ain't wash for how much weeks, and then you want to know, well, so people tend to pretend a lot, and with this world we living in, I guess they feel that they have to lie and not communicate well, but I think us in our 50s, or that era, we kind of keep it real still, but the younger generation, they have a problem with that, it's like a facade then. But I always think with proper communication and saying what you want, like I just say, mean what you say and say what you mean. Don't do, or how my mother used to say, don't do as I say, or don't do as I do, something like that, as the old people used to say. Because again, people have feelings too. And if we don't communicate what we want, when we want, how we want that next person to know. So I think, as Philia said, and I think June, you really have to have safe spaces in relationship, whatever type of relationship it is. I think because, as Philia said before, June, you don't want people to throw back stuff if you confide. Like if I come and I say, Nigel, I was raped, or someone tried to rape me. I don't want to hear you bring that back and throw it in my face. So a lot of people doesn't they have a lot of unresolved issues that they deal with, and they don't want to come out and just, because it's trauma. As Kwan says, trauma. Some people dealing with, and then you're married into that, and it's like a generational thing that continues. That's what I find. But I think people need to communicate better. I think people need to talk truthful and open. You know what I'm saying? Than to
Mhm.
play.
That is true. Now, a lot of people today love to talk. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
They just love to talk. And my grandfather used to say, "Be wary of people who talk too much."
Mm-hmm.
Because when they run out of the correct things to say, they will make up things to say just to keep an audience,
Right.
right? So talking is good, yes, but you have to know what to say and when to say it. That's like what Philia was saying, right? I mean, you want to tell the truth 99% of the time you can,
Right.
right? That 1% of the time that it is advised that you don't doesn't mean that you have to lie. You could say nothing,
Right.
right?
keep keep the fifth
You
and
could say nothing. Reserve your judgment for a later date
right.
till the waters are calmer, and this will go good for you. So reserve your judgment sometimes for a later date so that the waters, when the
I ain't
water
got
is calmer, you come out on
listen.
your seal.
Listen. I ain't got. I ain't getting any younger. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, time for that. I know what
I,
that.
I ain't got time for that. If you love me like you say you do, listen. If I feel like this, and Philly is right. Like prime example. Like when me and her first met, I wanted her to be like I was, and I admitted that to her. I was like, listen, if Yeah, I don't want you to be soft. You understand? Like I don't take no mess. You know what I'm saying? So if I don't take no mess, I want you to take no mess either. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it used to just be like that. And like the truth used to be hurt. But it wasn't the fact that I just wanted her to be like me. I didn't want to see you go through them things and let people try to walk over you when you don't deserve that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But that was true. But like I said, it's the person you know. Like I'm telling you this because like, yo, this person is an asshole. Excuse my language, but that person shouldn't be treating you. You should be treated the way you're supposed to be treated. So, but it goes back to also, Nigel, what you're saying too. A lot of things with her that I still was learning and wasn't accepting was traditional and things that happen in family and things that happened before her and things like that. So it was just like it was hard for me because I'm like, yo, this I can't sit and keep sitting here watch this and not say nothing. But it was just like, yo, listen, I can't help it. I gotta tell you what it is because I care that much. If I didn't care, like you said, if I didn't care, I just won't say nothing. I'll just let anything happen. It's none of my business, whatever. But because of that, and because I say, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on you, and I still was going through she was still going through her situation. I'll be like, all right, let me just be honest about this and just be like, yo, listen, man, I don't think you should do it this way. I don't think you should let this man do these type of things. This man shouldn't be doing this. This man shouldn't be doing that. It should be some freaking boundaries, no matter what the situation is. Because I always feel like I don't care what the situation is. If somebody is treating you a certain way, I'm going to tell you the truth. Yo, listen, X that person, no matter what the situation is.
Yeah, Jason is saying, Nigel, sometimes you may think the water is calm, but at time water is still boiling. That's
Still waters run deeper.
Oh man.
Boy, life, eh? June?
I mean, I think me and Philly have some similar traits. And it's not that we just gonna be vocal and say things. I think we have a lot of patience when it comes to situations and dealing with situations, especially difficult ones, relationships, and being in past relationships with difficult people. I think we have a lot of patience, and we just make sure we take the right steps. We're not stupid. We're quiet, but we're thinking, and we're thinking of what the next plan is and what's next. I don't think it's that we're, oh, be vocal, let's fight and argue about it. No, that's not the best way to handle stuff. We got to be smart about it, keep quiet, and have your master plan brewing. And that's just something I've always been that person, even at work. I'm not going to get in an argument with you, I promise, because you don't want to see me mad.
Right.
Like, and I don't think Phyllis, as long as we've been friends, I don't even think you see me at my maddest. Like,
Mm-mm.
but it's there. I can be that person. And I know the person I can be, but I choose not to be. So we're not weak. We are very strong. And you'd be very surprised. Like, oh my God, I didn't know she had it in her. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
smart. Our brains are working around the clock on what's next and what we need to do next. So
Yo,
yeah,
June, this sounds so scary, bro. Like, oh my
it's
God, yo. You
yeah,
sound like this, you sound like the woman above you, yo. Lord Jesus, man.
but it's
God, yo.
but that's why. Let me tell you something. When me and Philia met the first time, was like we knew each other for a long time.
I
We
know
have
she
a
told me,
lot of
yeah.
similar traits, and I love her for it because I'm like, damn. I feel like you. I was having this conversation with somebody today. I feel like when they say 1 in 100 people, I'm always that one. Like people tend to just keep testing your patience, testing you. Maybe we just have that face like let's mess with them, but they don't understand how crazy we can actually be, you
Right.
No,
know?
I know.
But
I know. No, no. No, I
we
know.
choose not to be that person.
I know how crazy y'all can get. Trust me on that. Yeah, yeah, I know. I know. I know.
But I've learned over time like the best way to handle things is not particularly being silent. I think
Mhm.
you're constantly thinking of what the next move is and making sure you make the right move. So when you make the move sticks and you don't have to worry about it again.
Right.
I also think that it's good to talk, just to have conversations with your significant other about, you know, compromising.
Of course.
Philly is the first person that really challenged me to be somebody different than I normally not. Like I hear you say, June, you and Philly, y'all patience. I've never been a patient person until I met her. I put that on my life. I've never been patient. I'm not a patient person. Whether I'm in the street, whether especially in the street, but in relationships, I'm not a patient person. I'm the type of person of like, you do me one wrong thing, I'm out the door.
Over. You like my husband.
I'm a
Yeah.
Virgo too, so it's just a habit. But
He's a
um,
Pisces.
yeah, I know that they ain't playing that shit. They out the door. but
Wait,
you
what's
know,
that about Pisces? I'm a Pisces.
Oh Lord. Never mind.
I'm very patient.
Oh
I
no.
I listen, I internalize, I analyze, and then I respond.
You
Mm.
guys internalize a lot.
Yeah.
but then you see, that's what
Very
I
good.
do because I'm always in my mind, and then I go backwards, and like I'm always in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like And like I said, Philly has helped me with a lot of things to change. Like I said, I'm very calm now. It's like we switch places now. It's like she's more me and I'm more her. Like I'm mad patient. I don't
Right.
say nothing. When she yell, I'm like, okay. Like I don't even raise my voice. It's times where she'll say something to me I won't like and I'll just walk out. Like literally go drive or something. That's how I used to be. But then like a lot of times we compromise. Of course, we go to church together. Of course, we pray together every day. Of course, you know, um, we read a Bible together. Like we do different things. So, I always say you in a relationship, try different things. And like I said, I don't think if I never met her, I would never thought about the things I did. Cause like I said, I would love to have patience. You know what I'm saying? Things that she do, I was like, okay, I would love to have that. But I'm happy that through time, I was like, okay, I could be patient about this. I could be patient about this. I could be patient about this. Oh, I don't need to worry about this. I don't need to worry about this. Let me sit there and talk about this. Oh, let's compromise about whatever's going on in us. Oh, you know what? Me and her got in an argument. So you know what? Let me just calm down and just talk about it instead of us going to bed upset or whatever, whatever.
Right.
So it's differently. So it's just you got to talk to your partner though. Have that, like you said, have that communication and get to the root of what's really going on.
Yeah. So I think I hope people tonight, get a good view of us and our situations here on Motivation on Monday. I think the conversation was very engaging with everyone, you know. Um, Philia, we learned a lot tonight.
Absolutely. This is a beautiful panel. This could be our permanent panel.
You know,
It was really
I
good. I
just
love
got
the
to get me to stay
insight.
awake.
I
I
know.
know, I know. But I love the insight. It came from different perspectives. I think we all are able to see our strengths and I'm not going to say weaknesses, but challenges.
Right.
And but the key is the honesty. The key is giving people an opportunity to use the information to what they like, but at the end of the day, you're still accountable for your truth. And I think that's the bottom line to what everybody agrees with. So
And
great,
don't
great
be
topic, great conversations. Yes,
Yeah.
madam.
and don't be open.
Yes, Nigel, that's what we got
I
from
take
it.
back that word. I take back that word.
Nigel in
Be
closing.
honest, but don't be open. Yes. You're funny. Yes. Very funny.
In closing, I would really like that to emphasize that in communicating, listen, get the message, forget the delivery, listen for the message, because that is the goal of communication, delivering a message. So look for the message, seek out the message and what it said, however it is said, and act on that only, nothing else.
Nice. June.
Nice, good finish.
That's a
June.
good finish. So what is that? Seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's what you're saying.
That's
I
it,
love that.
yes.
Beautiful.
I agree. I agree with everyone. I think open communication is important. Um, Listen to understand. Don't be quick to respond, and create that safe space as well. Something that's always a work in progress. Not every conversation is going to be the same. The communication is not going to be delivered, but you deliver it the way you want it every single time. But it's an opportunity for you to go back and like, wow, maybe I shouldn't have did that. Revisit the conversation, stop the conversation. Hey, we'll continue this tomorrow if it's not going the way you want it, and pick it up again tomorrow or the next day and just try again. It's an ongoing process, an opportunity to grow and develop within your relationship. It doesn't just stop. You have to keep at it. So not because one doesn't agree with something, you shut it down. No, you keep going. You just got to keep trying and keep going. And every day is going to be easier. It may not be the way you want it to be, but if you're in a relationship, you got to communicate. And if they don't want to listen, you better follow them. Go
Right.
behind them and make sure that
Yo, why you sound like her, man? Jesus Christ,
Follow
yo.
him around the room. Like, you
Oh my
better
God. Just give me my
talk.
space, yo. Give me 5 minutes, man.
However you gotta do it, you
Yo,
gotta do
yo,
it.
yo, Philly, yo, Philly, you gotta stop hanging out with June, bro. Real talk, man.
Listen, look how far apart we are. We just, we just
Y'all not farther
Hey,
enough.
June in North Carolina, you know.
Nah, I got family in North
There you
Carolina.
go.
No.
listen. I will tell you. Ask my husband. I will follow him. You go outside. I go outside behind him. We going. You going for a walk? We going for a walk. I'm right behind you. Like we're gonna talk, whether you want to or not.
Yo, don't get no ideas, you know?
Well, let's
Weren't
find
you
this
the
one.
same one who was just saying leave it for another day?
Yeah. Okay. So today is here. The next day is
Today,
here. So
today
we're
is
going
the
for
other
another
day.
walk. We're gonna
Nigel, today is the day.
right. Today is the day to be open. Right.
No,
Hey,
it's just funny because there was something like that that happened. Quan is in the shower. Tell me, open in the shower. He's like, can I shower? I was like, no, you're gonna hear me out. He's like, I can't believe this.
Sitting on the sink while they in the bathroom. We gonna talk.
We gonna get this out right now.
yeah.
I can't. That's hilarious. Well, this
Guys,
was a great discussion, guys. Thank you so much. It was awesome.
once a month, we
Once a
can have the
month. Once a
dialogue,
month.
you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
No
absolutely.
doubt.
Thank you again, Nigel. Thank you,
Thank you,
Juan. Thank
Nigel.
you, June.
Thank you,
Thank
Nigel.
you, Celia.
Welcome.
Thank
And
you,
Thank you all for
twin.
having me.
yeah, love in the house always. Don't forget, guys, this Saturday I
Thank
have
you,
my
baby.
cancer walk at
Yes.
in front of August Martin. We leaving 3:30 sharp.
Okay.
Come out, we walk in for a cause. You know you have somebody, somebody who was affected. Men and
Hmm.
women are dying
Yes.
with it.
Yes.
Prostate, breast cancer. I had a co-worker, cousin who died from breast cancer. Uncle Frankie died from cancer also. So I'll be
Yeah.
walking this year. I'm honoring Uncle Frankie because he
All
fight
right.
the fight, you know.
Right.
And I
Okay.
love my Uncle Frankie. May he rest in peace. Love in
Yes.
the house.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Love in the
love in the
house,
house to
Love in
everybody.
the
everybody.
house.
Love in the
Bye,
house.
Bye
guys.
Bye.
bye.
Bye,
Good
Bye.
week,
Nigel.
guys. Have a wonderful
Bye,
week.
Kwan. Yes.
All
Later,
Bless
sis.
one.
right,
Okay.
sis. Take care. Love you guys. Bye bye.
Love you too.